Welcome, everybody. I'm excited. Thank you for showing up tonight. We are going to go over, well, first of all, I'm going to tell you my formula. So I'm going to reveal my secret right up front so you don't have to say, well, can she just get to the point, right? And then we're going to go through 3 case studies. I've already looked at the scans because there was no way we could do 3. And then I found out the things that I would recommend with AO. And then we're going to kind of backtrack and we're going to talk about how I use that in my formula. So hopefully it makes sense with you. And as you're going through these case studies, I want you to think about that formula, right? So what is the formula? I always look at the nervous system first, right? Any symptom that anyone ever has, it's the brain telling the body that that symptom is there. I'm not saying it's not real, right? But we know like phantom limb pain exists. So if someone's having pain in their foot, yet they had their foot amputated, their brain is telling them it's still there and it's painful, right? Obviously, they have that pain, but it's the brain that's communicating to the body for any symptom. I don't care what it is, right? If your brain is telling you there's pain or inflammation or whatever, the brain has to be involved. So I always look at the nervous system first. I try to eliminate as much inflammation in the body as possible. And we all know there's that really strong, or most of us know, brain-gut connection, right? So they're very tied. You have that vagus nerve that attaches at your brainstem. It goes down your throat, through your cranial nerves, and it goes to all your different organs and ends down in the urinary area, the pelvic area. So those nerves are contacting the gut, right? Every single nervous system is going to all of your organs. So those two are combined. So I'm looking at those 2 things first. And then I look at the lymphatics, right? Because we want to make sure that your lymphatic system helps get everything out. It helps detox you. And if your lymphatics are clogged up, what's going to happen when you start detoxing someone? They're going to reabsorb all of those things, right? So this is kind of the formula that I do no matter what someone comes to me for, if it's a migraine, if it's a shoulder pain, whatever it is. This is kind of how my brain thinks when I'm looking through the scans. Okay. And if you have a question while we're going along, I know it's hard, you might forget, just pop it in the chat. And if we have time, we'll get to the questions afterwards. Okay. Okay. So the first person we have, female, mid-50s, extreme fatigue, difficult with weight loss, insulin resistant, liver issues, has had long COVID for a very long time. MCAS, she has very extreme Herx reactions, right? So that means that she can't take medicines and herbals. She gets panic attacks at night. She's done a liver cleanse, and after the liver cleanse, she was literally unable to swallow. And she says that she is pooping once a day, right? So this to me, what do you think it screams? It screams brain, right? Fatigue, insulin resistance, long COVID, we know it attacks the nervous system. Anytime someone says they can't tolerate something, you know the central nervous system is going like, wah, 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 we've got an emergency, right? Panic attacks, wah, 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 it's an emergency. So what can we do with the nervous system and food sensitivities, helping with better digestion and the stress triggers and the sensitivity spikes? This is what I like to do. I like to use our AO tunes. Feel free to take screenshots because it's going to be a lot to write and we're going to go fast and furious, okay? So I'm not going to read every word on the screens either because I want to have a chance to answer questions. So I really love using the AO tunes. 2 great places for the nervous system is right at the back of your head on your hairline, anywhere along the midline, but I really like the belly button and the back of the head or the base of the spine. You get that midline and you get the whole nervous system, right? Here's some quantum flowers. Essential oils are good. Remember, we have the essential oils in our scanner, right? So you can make your own. You can use the actual one. And then cell salt, magnesia is going to be really important to calm that central nervous system. And I always like to use this nosode when someone is having nervous system issues. And then also look at copper because that is great for neural support. And a lot of people are either they're overloaded or underloaded. So I look at that. Those are the main things. Here's some other AO tunes that you can play. I really love the brain one. That really helps to reset the central nervous system. And again, you can, with those AO tunes, remember, you can just have them playing with the person's name at top, or you can use the transducers. It works either way. And here are a few more quantum flowers. If you muscle test, I would muscle test to see which ones are best, or you can go by some of the things I have down below, and you can see which resonates the best. Okay, chronic fatigue. So basically, I'll back up and I'll explain something a little bit. We're all walking around with these buckets. And in this bucket is every stressor we've had in our entire life, right? Our childhood trauma, the trauma when someone just cut you off in traffic, the fight you had with someone. If you're allergic to pollen, trees right or the flowers right now, that may be going off. You're dehydrated, that's in there. You had a really hard exercise, that's a trauma, right? It's good for you, but it's a trauma. Your body has to recover for that. That's in there. You're stressed out because of work, that's in there. So you were walking around with this bucket and all our stressors are put in here. And then one little thing happens. It could be just, you get a call from someone and it's not a very pleasant call. That little call, because your bucket's already filled with stuff, could push you over into autoimmune or to MCAS or into chronic anything or your immune system going down, right? So when we're looking at these scans, we're trying to look at ways to reduce our threat bucket. Because if we reduce our threat bucket, we're going to make the brain happy. And that's key to all of this, right? So what I think of when someone's always saying they're really fatigued, again, it goes back to neuro. And then for liver inflammation, some of the ones I like in quantum frequency is autointoxication. The client we're talking about did have, was pooping once a day, but if someone's not pooping once a day, then they're going to be reabsorbing everything, right? You can do constipation or diarrhea. Sometimes they fluctuate. Chem detox is good, lymph gland support, heavy metals if that's an issue. And then we saw that she has had long COVID for a really long time. So I would do insomnia, COVID mutations. You could do that Nerve EZ Plus. Speaking of nerves, here are some other things you can do. And then once we get down to that last part, then we can start talking about Epstein-Barr, mold fungus, candida, and parasites. But I wouldn't necessarily start with the virus and the parasite load, right? You'd want to go through those sections, deal with the brain-gut connection first. In this case, all of these would just be fabulous. Keep in mind that we're going to hold off on the detoxes right away. Even though in this case they're herbal remedies, but she said she didn't tolerate them very well, right? So we would go for the more supportive ones at first. Anything with a plus in it, Nerve EZ Plus. There's nothing negative in that. It's all positive herbal and homeopathic remedy support. Trace Minerals Complete. It's going to help her fill up her nutritional gaps. Ultimate Emotions. Those are all of the homeopathic Bach flowers in there, and it will help with the emotional trauma and release. And then the Sleep Easy, that will help with all of the sleeping because you really need a really good night's sleep in order to heal. Remember, when you're sleeping, that's where you rest and digest. If you're not sleeping well, then you're not going to be able to heal. Okay, mind sync affirmations. This is going to be really good for our client here. These are some affirmations she can do. Of course, she's going to want to do more of them. But in our AO scan, remember, this is your voice that you're recording. It's customized binaural beats, so your brain believes it. We want that brain to believe it's safe and it's okay to start healing rather than living in that fight or flight. I like to do a customized inner voice script based on the symptoms. So I came up with this inner voice script. You don't have to use this one, but it's just another way. When you're doing that inner voice, when you're talking for 10 seconds, it's identifying the emotions and the organs that are in and out of balance. So when you say something, what you want, you're going to be more likely, it's putting it out there. This is what I want. Cell salts. Cell salts are going to be, the frequency of cell salts are going to be really great for this person. She already said she doesn't tolerate herbals, right? But perhaps the frequency of them would be helpful. So again, this would be just for short durations because she's already said she's very sensitive with all of these things. You'd want to start very slow and then increase as the body tolerates. Everyone's always asking me, how long should I do this? And I can never answer because it really varies for everyone. Like for myself, I could play it all day and I'll be fine. But obviously for this client, you'd have to start very slow, right? And then the nosodes, you could do this one as well for the post-viral, the COVID. We talked about the other one on the other chart. So with dealing with the brain, you could hum, gargle, sing, anything to stimulate the vagus nerve. I have 5 free videos out on my YouTube channel if you want to look at those, and it walks you through really activating the vagus nerve. You can tap on the thymus to help with the immune and the heart center. You can do meditations. You can, while you're listening to your mind sync, you can really visualize it, use all your senses. Magnesium flakes will really be good to start opening up the liver and kidney drainage. So you could do foot salts. You can do it in a bath. Again, with this client, you'd want to start very low, right? So the key here is going to be minimal stimulation to avoid the herxing. We're going to slowly support the detox pathways before we even begin to do any of that detox. And we're really going to be focusing on resetting the nervous system first, and then the other organs just naturally follow. But if we don't get to that root cause of the nervous system going, wah, 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 this is not working for me, right? It won't matter what we do. It'll just make it worse. Okay. Second person, this is another complex one. Someone with Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome, 34, female. She was very, very active, and she has extreme fatigue, extreme joint pain. For those of you that don't know, there is a genetic component to this, but that's when your joints are hypermobile, and they're different degrees of it. But she's very hypermobile in her knees, shoulders, and wrists. She gets frequent joint locations and instability. This is more common than you think. A lot of people have something like this on a milder version. They don't even know it. A lot of heart stuff, racing hearts. It's difficult sometimes when you're laying down. There can be some heart issues. Severe energy crashes, digestive system issues. When high oxalate foods, people have problems with this and they don't even know it. And then they get lots of bloating and they are not absorbing their nutrients. Sometimes they can have fragile skin or they can bruise easily. Those are in severe issues. Okay, so again, what are we dealing with first? The brain, right? Are you seeing a pattern? This is the same one that you just saw. So this will be a duplicate side, right? But this is crown, nervous system balance, flowers, oils, cell salts, nosodes, minerals. This is just a general one that you're going to be able to do when anyone has something that they say, I'm not digesting my food, I am constipated, or I have diarrhea. You know the nervous system has to be involved. So some sort of root cause things we can look at. And this showed up in her scan. We had a high oxalate chemical load. So basically, anytime she had oxalate foods, it would just store in there, and her body does not react well to that. She did have gut malabsorption, and in the vital scan, we have the digestive system, and it says in there hydrochloric acid. So if she was pooping, but you should really be pooping at least after every big meal. And if the person is not pooping after every big meal, you're going to want to create an acidic stomach so that when the food hits it, you're able to pull the minerals out and the vitamins out, and then it goes right through the digestive system. So that malabsorption, if it's either sitting there, it can auto-intoxicate, it can create alcohol, or if it's going through too fast, diarrhea, then they're not going to be able to pull things out, and it creates a nervous system overload balance, again, the wah, wah, wah. In addition, with EDS or Danlos, there is a methylation weakness as well. So this person was getting methylated B12 shots, but usually B12 is very low, and you have to have methylated B12. For a lot of people that have the MTHFR gene, but especially for EDS, they do much better with a methylated B12. And then with EDS, also iron is an issue, so you'd want to look at those markers on the vital scan as well. So the emotional component to this is very interesting. I'm not saying it's not real when I say that, right? I know there's a genetic component, and I know the pain is real, but if we look at like New German medicine, it's the feelings of being unsupported, like your joints literally can't support you, right? And there's usually ancestral trauma, and there's usually trapped emotions of overwhelm and fear. So they typically hold those emotions in the gut, vagus nerve, spine, that despair, that anxiety. You go from being a very healthy person, and that bucket just starts to overload. So all of a sudden they go from healthy to not functioning very well. It can be very frightening. And then usually in the beginning, when someone has, let's just say autoimmune, it's in general, family and friends usually don't believe them. They think they're exaggerating everything, right? So then you get that shame and guilt because you're not able to help out and you're fragile. So I love inner voice for anyone with autoimmune, especially EDS. And you can pair that with some solfeggio tones on the AO tunes. That works really well. You can also take a magnet, any magnet, even like one of those kids' alphabet magnets, and just release it over the governing meridian to kind of balance things out in the nervous system. And then here are some essential oils that can help with the release method as well. All right, so here are some specifics that we can dive into. You can really work on the gamma 528 in the nervous system. I love the name of this flower, right? Dog Rose of the Wild Forces. And that's for anxiety. Cell salt silicea is really good for connective tissue and skin integrity. So anyone with any joint problems, this is great for. Sometimes there's, so Sora Plus can be a couple of different things. This could be skin issues, which is common with EDS, but it also gets to the miasm component of it, Sora miasm. So I like this nosode for EDS and anyone with skin issues or joint problems. Trace Minerals Complete is really good because it's going to have the energetic component of all the minerals. So if you introduce the energetic component into the body, when you have foods with minerals, you're more likely to pull the minerals out. Okay, and here are some playlist things that you can go ahead and put in there as well. Kind of goes to what we were talking about. Okay, so we delved into it a little bit, but if we talk about German new medicine, I can't keep it together. I'm not strong enough to hold or support. I'm falling apart under pressure. These are all kind of those biological roots of it. And in order to deal with that with our scanner, we can go ahead and use these frequencies for that in the spine and self-worth. So that really helps. And what I like to do is when they're doing their inner voice or mind sync, you can have these on, and it really works well if you have the transducers. And let's say problems with the shoulders, right? You could have the transducers on the shoulders while they're listening to while they're doing mind sync. Okay, so holistic support outside of AO, there's a really good book by Toxic Superfoods. I highly recommend it. Chapter 11 is on oxalate reduction. She could do a gene methylation test and really target that B vitamin supplementation, or she could just go by the scanner, the MTHFR, and make sure she's taking methylated B. Really dive into this whole German new medicine, right? See if there anything that she can remember about, being unstable in life and when did that start, and try to resolve those conflicts. Emotion code, trauma release, inner voice, all trying to release the fear, shame, anxiety, guilt, and then tuning it in with those tuners. She could also do the crown heart root to really get that, the vagus nerve going as well. Kind of talked about some of this, but EDS, it's the early life trauma, the chronic stress patterns, it's that hypervigilance. The brain's always saying like, what's next, and it's triggered very easily. A hangnail may literally feel like a huge gash. Everything is just magnified, and that's true in a lot of autoimmune issues, and they're not making it up. It's their brain constantly, their brain is like this, just looking for any little thing, and all the small things are just get magnified. So that's that vagus nerve dysregulation, always being in fight or flight, that cortisol rushing through your body. A lot of this trauma can get stored in the fascia, and that can contribute to the pain flares. The fascia is kind of this webbing all along the body, attaches through the organs and everywhere. So probably a really good idea for this person to do some gentle fascia release. She's not going to be able to handle deep tissue, but certainly Reiki or some sort of soft release to get rid of those healing loops. Tapping would be great as well. EFT, humming, gargling, and singing again. Any trauma release exercises. And again, here's some other frequencies that she could do while she's doing these. Here's some mind sync affirmations for anyone who is having joint pain, severe autoimmune issues, and then a voice script as well for inner voice. After her brain calmed down, her nervous system calmed down, everything was getting a little bit back into sync, and she was still pooping, then I would start to focus on the lymphatic and the brain detox panels, and highly recommending like emotional clearing sessions monthly, if not weekly, and mind sync daily, just to really work on those traumas. And keep in mind that body systems optimizes all of our emotions also, right? So that would be really good to do daily. Okay, this is our last case study here. How are we doing on time? Oh, we're doing great. Okay, caregiver. She's an artist. She's a healer. She's a female, 64. And when I say caregiver, she's been taking care of her son for a very long time now. With severe issues. It's not just a little caregiver, it's her life, right? So she's having sleep disturbances. She wakes up too early, racing mind, inconsistent ability to fall back asleep, chronic left side shoulder pain, muscle cramps, sluggish bowels. It does improve with magnesium. Overactive mind, mental redirection. She has fatigue and emotional depletion. So what are we seeing here? Remember, we're putting our neuro glasses on. What are we seeing? Brain, right? Sleep. Your brain tells you whether you can sleep well or not, right? We'll get to the chronic left shoulder pain. Bowel movements, neuro, overactive mind, neuro, emotional depletion, fatigue. There's a physical component for sure, but it's also the brain that's regulating all of this, right? Okay. Some root emotional patterns we have that chronic alertness, right, from caregiver stress. So very similar to that EDS situation, right? Your brain's always like, okay, now what's coming? Well, now what's coming? How are we going to deal with this? That suppressed grief or burden, it's actually often stored in the left shoulder. right? So kidney, livers, and the right shoulder, so that's anger. On the left is that grief that you haven't let bubble up, or a burden. So we have overwhelm, the nervous system, dysregulation again, and then that digestive rhythm that has been interrupted. So again, left shoulder pain of a right-handed person can be that unresolved burden or responsibility. And then that colon sluggishness can be that unable to let go energetically. Her brain is like not letting her let go. She's had to hold it all together for everyone for a long time, right? So here are some great frequency playlists that you can put in there. Again, down here we have kind of the emotional component, and then we have some symptoms up there. Here are some really good flower essences. And in particular, olive would be really good, that deep exhaustion. Cell salts. So magnesia, again, for nerve tension, the sleep disruption, and the silicea helps with that elimination. And the kali is great for anyone with adrenal fatigue or nervous system burnout. Okay, and here are some energy homeoenergetics. Now, she doesn't have the severe symptoms, right? So we might be able to introduce some of these detoxes sooner rather than the EDS, right? But I would definitely deal with the emotional component and the vagus nerve first. But we probably won't have to wait as long before we can start introducing the detoxes and the nosodes. Okay, here's some AO Tune recommendations. I really love AO Tunes. I use it a lot. So if you haven't been using it, please start. It's pretty amazing. Here are some mind sync affirmations and a 10-second inner voice script recommendation. So start playing around with these voice scripts, right? Make it more than just saying the alphabet. Make it talk to your body. Tell it what you want. Get more out of it. Okay, so this is how I would kind of group things. The sleep system and nervous system support. I would use these. Muscle cramps and chronic pain, I would use these. So I kind of grouped this for you so that you could see how you might use this with other people also, right? A lot of people are having sleep issues, and make sure that their environment is really set up for a good sleep, right? You want to have a cold room, a dark room, absolutely, positively no Bluetooth Wi-Fi in the room. Phones off, not even on airplane mode. And if they're wearing a device on their wrist, that's a huge no-no. You can't sleep. You're constantly getting that EMF connection. Ideally, you have your Wi-Fi router on a like one of those Christmas lights. It just automatically goes off at certain times, so it's literally off in your house. If you can do that, it's not always possible. Okay, so we have for the physical shoulder pain and discomfort, these would be great. I would probably throw Nerve Easy Plus in there. Constipation, digestive flow, this would be great. You can use body systems support. If stress is a component, which usually it is with digestion, you could do that anti-stress. And then here are some great ones for emotional and energetic clarity as well. Turkey bush. Australian bush flowers, they have the best names. Okay, so let's quickly review the common themes with these solutions so that you can apply these to other things, right? We've seen this twice now. This is anyone with nervous system issues, and I kind of told you my thing. It's almost everyone, right? Anytime you have pain or inflammation or digestion, think nervous system. And then we have that gut emotion connection. So any digestion disturbance, and please, 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 please make sure you ask about their poop. I know no one likes to talk about poop, but it's important. So many times I'll say, how's your digestion system? They're like, oh, it's great. Okay, how many times do you poop a day? Oh, about once a week, right? Everyone has a different like idea of what a great digestive system is. But ideally, your food comes in, your food goes out, right? Within 30 minutes, you want everything to detox out of your body. If not, we've got a problem. All right, take a look at food sensitivities. These are very common. They cause a lot of inflammation in almost everybody. May not be an allergy, but certainly dairy, gluten, sugar, and grains, they cause inflammation in almost everyone, unless you live outside of the United States. If you live outside of the United States, like in Europe, grains and gluten are just completely different than they are here in the United States. So I really like agrimony for food sensitivities, and peppermint is amazing for digestion. And if you haven't gotten the peppermint capsules yet from Solex, I think it's my absolute favorite of all their supplements. It works really, really well to help with the digestion. It's my favorite for sure. Oh, and then potassium for cellular hydration. So what are food sensitivities on our scanner? It's usually an energetic mismatch for whatever reason, right? Let's just take an example of pecan showed up as a double red. Doesn't mean that they're allergic to pecans. But at that given point in time, most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, if it's double red, your body didn't like it, right? So maybe the pecans had some chemicals on it. It was sprayed, or perhaps they had too much of it, or I've even had a strange case one time where like something kept coming up over and over and over and over again. It was avocados, and we went all down the normal routes. Well, it turned out her grandfather had an avocado farm. There's some strange connection that way also. So sensitivities is just an energy mismatch for whatever reason. At that given time, when you take that scan, it just didn't like it. So sometimes getting rid of the food sensitivities if they show up regularly for a little bit, and then reintroducing them in small amounts, but really high quality. So organic and, no hormones, no anything. If it's no, if you're doing meat, you'd want grass-fed and no hormones. No hormones, can't talk. Fennel is also really great in addition to the peppermint for digestive flow. And zinc is also good as a digestive enzyme support. Okay, so after we deal with the nervous system, we deal with the gut, we can start working on some of the organs, right? So this is a great mixture for the liver and the detoxification. I find that tuberculinum is really good for people who have methylation issues and their detox pathways are a little clogged up. That really helps to move things along. And then a lot of times when we're detoxing, no, we're not detoxing properly. There's skin issues, right? There's eczema, there's acne, there's hives. So sometimes these food sensitivities show up through the skin because their normal pathways are clogged. So they're not eliminating properly or they're not sweating. So then they start popping up through the skin, little rashes or big rashes, eczema. This skin frequency in AO Tune is really, really good. I've used that on my grandson and it helps tremendously. Geranium is fabulous. And the billy goat plum, another great, like billy goat plum. That flower is good for the energetic component of accepting the skin, right? If you think of like a teenager who has a lot of acne, there's a lot of emotions that go along with that, so that that flower can help with the emotions that go along with it. Cilicia is good for skin detox, and then the nosode here, and zinc also for skin repair. All right, that's kind of what I had as our formal presentation. So I will open it up for questions if anyone has any questions. See if I can get everyone. I'm gonna go through the chat first. All right. So the first question by Tess is, do you apply the AO tune or tuning forks right on the back of the neck, and how long to play? So the how long thing, my answer is always going to be it varies, right? It really varies. Some people will feel a difference right away. And generally with tuning forks, I feel like you know when you've had enough, your body is just kind of like, ah, and you can just stop. When I'm working on a client, I try to do it for about 3 to 5 minutes. I interviewed Eileen McCusick, who she's an amazing person. She has a book called The Biofield, and she was one of the first people that started playing around with, rather than applying it directly to the skin, you pull the tuning fork off. She doesn't use AO, but she uses actual tuning forks. So she was getting much better results using the tuning fork here rather than on the skin. So at our retreat, we started playing around with that with AO Tune, and we found the same thing. Sometimes we'd have to, someone had a knee problem, we put the AO transducer right on the knee, and then we pulled it off. And when we pulled it off, that's when she started getting a better effect. So that was pretty cool. So play around with the back of the neck also. It could be right on the back of the neck, or you could pull it off, start playing around. And when you do the AO transducers, like close your eyes and pay attention to your body, because you may notice like you'll put it on your right shoulder and then all of a sudden your left knee will start twinging. So then kind of chase it, right? Go to the left knee then. Then where does it happen? Oh, wait, it went to my neck. And then, you can feel free to trace it and kind of like work through those meridians that way. Pay attention to your body when you're using it. What do I mean by DO? Can't remember by do. I can't remember when I said that. Sorry, Doc, I can't remember when I said that. How many of the frequencies in the previous scan do you play at once? So it varies. That's going to be if you muscle test, it's best to see which is the most important, like which is the most beneficial, effective, and tolerable. Again, I'm always targeting that nervous system first and then the gut. When I say low and slow, so if I'm doing any detox, say I wanted to do Nerve Easy Plus and they had a heavy COVID load. So let's say I had COVID mutations, Nerve Easy Plus, neuroendocrine, and they were also having like neurogenic bladder issues from COVID, and I had bladder troubles in there, right? So I had those 5 frequencies. Since I have a detox in there, I'm going to start low. I'm going to ask them like, okay, let's say let's just say it's very common with that whole thing to get nerve pain in the eye. So let's say they had eye nerve pain from COVID also. I would have them rate their eye nerve pain. Like, okay, what does it feel like right now? Is it a 1 to 10? Is it 2, 3, 4? Okay, it's a 4. We'd start playing the playlist. We'd be doing other things and then come back. Okay, now is it a 1? Is it a 2? Or is it still a 4? If it's gone down to a 1, then that's great. If it made it worse, we would stop it. Right? So that's what I mean, low and slow. For some people, it'll take that nerve pain and it'll go down to a 0 like right away. It's amazing. And then for other people's, if they can't handle that detox, it may go up to a 10. Right? So that's why I can't say it's not a formula in that sense that like, oh yeah, always do it for 5 minutes, because everyone is completely different. You're welcome for going over the case of the EDS. It's a lot of people have some form of it. They may not formally be diagnosed, but a lot of people have that instability in the joints. So even though someone's not diagnosed with EDS, if someone has joint issues, you can certainly apply all of that stuff. And then German New Medicine. So basically, German New Medicine looks at the root causes a different way. It's looking at an approach to providing a path. So it's dealing with emotions and where the emotions are stored, and it has like a different way of looking at things. Dr. Hammer first introduced it like in 1930s. He's no longer right. But it's really fabulous it's not only looking at the symptoms, right? You dive down in a different way. Okay, we have some AI. Hi, Lisa. Yeah, I do. I usually scan people before. So I'll do vitals and body systems before, and then we'll get on a Zoom and we'll address their top 3 symptoms. And I have access to the extended database. So when I'm doing a live session with someone, I will go into the extended database, and it's pretty amazing. Let me go out and I can show you what that looks like if you don't know what the extended database looks like. And I'll share again. Okay. So I've already run vitals and body systems. If I go out to comprehensive and I let the computer pick for me, the computer will then identify which areas are most likely the most important. To make it quick, let's just deselect all. And in this case, I want to do heart. And since we've only clicked one, it will be really quick. So we'll do a scan. We don't need to listen to that. Everyone knows that, right? You don't have to listen to the scans. You don't have to listen to the playlists. You have to listen to Inner Voice. You have to listen to MindSync. I can actually feel AO tunes without listening to them. Some people can't, but I can. Okay, so I just scanned and optimized. Now down here, once you do the training in the back office, I can click on database. And it gives you so many things. Depending on the client, if their nervous system is already in overload, I don't show them this screen because it can create more stress. But there's some allergens it deals with, some bacteria. Basically, we're looking for 85% or more. Low cause means low function. High cause means high inflammation. And then you have the time. 1 year is 1 year or less, and 5 years or 5 year or more. So you can start to see correlations, right? So I'm pretty much paying attention to 85% or more, unless I see a lot with nerves, and then I would register in my brain. It deals with chemicals, and I like it because it deals with emotions, right? So if you know how to release emotions, you can do it from here also. And then some food sensitivities, heavy metals, hormones, and then insect bites. Keep in mind, these are frequencies, so you may see scorpion, you may see all these things. There could be another insect that's similar to a scorpion, or it could be an ancestral thing. And then this is always good to look at, right? The organs, which organs are so cochlear, right? So heart and ear, they're connected on this person. So you can get a lot of really good information. We've got some pesticides. You have some pathologies. Keep in mind, you are going to see cancer in here on these pathologies, but think of cancer as lumps and bumps. It doesn't necessarily mean it's that scary cancer. But certainly, if you start to see the same things over and over again, I'll give you an example. When I first started doing this, I had breast cancer show up on me a lot. So I just used the wand, and I did have lumps and bumps, but they were all fine. And then it stopped showing up. So even though it says cancer on here, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have cancer, obviously. I can't remember how I even got on this. Okay, where were we? Oh, that's how I got on it. So then I go into the extended database and come up with a lifestyle plan and playlists for people. Yeah, rosacea could fall under the same category as eczema and other skin detox. You'd have to look into the other root causes, but it could be a factor. Gut emotion connection. Yeah, I'll go back to that. So I have to go out and come back in. If someone's constipated, would someone start with an herbal store-bought formula to move poop whilst the seppi, etc.? Yeah, you could if you react well to it. Licorice root tea is really good. Smooth move tea is really good. Most people can tolerate both of those things. Those peppermint capsules from Solex, that's amazing, actually. And I haven't had anyone herx from those. I use AO2. Oh, nice. Through my PMF device. That's excellent. Can I use AO2 without the transducer? Yes, you can. And I can feel it if I just like run throat chakra. If I close my eyes, I can actually feel it even with the sound down. Not everyone can feel it, but I can. Yes, I have worked with people dealing with severe essential tremors. Yep, you can do the playlist for 5 minutes and then recheck. Or you can have them do it, and that way they can tell if they're herxing. People that are very sensitive to frequencies, they'll let you know. Most people, they know right away. What would be your first choice to broadcast them? Imprint into water, Cepheid daughter pellets, or an object to have the most impact? I would say imprint into water would be my favorite choice, and then pellets, and then you could also do the Cepheid dots to have that frequency again and wear it throughout the day. So maybe all three. But yeah, water, if I had to choose one, I would do water. Yeah, using the wand with any of the case studies. Yeah, so for any of the shoulder pain, the joint pain, directly on that. For the vagus nerve, I like to do the neuro reset, which is you take the wand directly up the nose, like at an angle. And then you close your eyes. I like to do a figure eight around the eyes. And then I like to do the ear, jaw area, throat area, and then right at the hairline where your cerebellum is, the back of your head. This optimizes the whole nervous system, just like that. And then you can do the midline too. That will help with all the organs and the chakras and the energy centers of the body and the vagus nerve. Do you ever use AO Hub? Yeah, that's one of my favorites. If you have, well, the hub, I feel like is best for calming the nervous system. RTMS, it takes longer. I've been seeing, I've only been using that for, what's it been now? Month and a half? Like, I lost track of time. So we haven't had that as long. But I had one person who's in severe fight or flight. I didn't know she was suicidal, but I guess she was. One session, it completely brought her out of fight or flight, and she said she slept the best she had in weeks. Or actually, no, that was years. Yeah, so that was, and she told me that was the first time in ages she didn't want to swallow a bottle of pills. I had no idea that it was that bad. So the hub is pretty amazing to calm the central nervous system down. You do have to play around with the settings on the hub. It's another one of those things where it's not, if you do this and this, you're going to get this result. Everyone is different. So it's really best to muscle test. And you always want to check back in with the person on the hub, because that first 3 minutes, it's dropping you into the alpha, beta, theta, gamma, whatever you've chosen. And then you're in it after 3 minutes. So check in on the light levels, the sound, and the pulsing going on in the ears, and see if anything needs to be readjusted. Yeah, Dr. Hammer. Any book suggestions for what, Bonnie? For New German Medicine or for something else? You're welcome, Evelyn. Does the time frame play into how you treat the issue? If it's ancestral, would the time frame be super long? My experience is no, if you know what you're doing. Everyone uses different modalities and it's different for everybody. But I find with frequencies, especially the miasms and the nosodes, if it's just this frequency that's kind of lingering in your body and it's been passed on, I find that it releases out of the body very quickly, especially if you put it in multicast. Does everyone know what that is? It's out of the way. So if you come down to Cephi and you go down to the bottom, you can have like an amazing affirmation here. You select a flower, you press scan, it scans for your flower, and then you have your playlist here. So if one of your playlists is to release ancestral trauma, and you have your nosodes and you have all of your miasms in here, and then you have like a positive one for love and forgiveness and gratitude and everything. And then that's your intention to release all that. It works really, really well, in addition to other energy stuff. So if you do emotion code, body code, belief code, any of the codes, food codes, trauma codes, or anything else, it works really well. High cause and low cause is just high inflammation, low function. So it just kind of tells you if it's high inflammation, I guess it could be acute or it could be not, but it just gives you more information. Low cause, so if it's in the heart, it's causing low function of the heart, right? So that's one way to look at it. They explain it better in the training. It will be recorded. Yep. You're welcome. When do you recommend using the hub in addition to the AO scanner? I love it. I would, if you have it, use it. If you're asking like, which one do I do first? I typically wake up and do inner voice, vitals, body systems. And actually, I don't do inner voice if I'm doing a hubception. I'll just do vitals, body systems. I'll hop on the hub. I'll do my hub, listening to my inner voice, and then I'll go do my exercise. So that's what I do. But you can certainly do your scan afterwards as well. Yeah, same low function, high inflammation. They go over that in the training. Oh, for New German Medicine, there are a bunch of books out there. It's been a while since I've read the books. Let me get out there. I know there was one. I'll have to look for it. I'll have to go on my bookshelf and get it. Who asked that? Bonnie, send me a message and I can I'll send it back to you. I'm gonna go look at my bookshelf. It's been a while. You're welcome, Lisa. You're welcome, Lee. How do you set expectations and how long it will take for the changes to occur? That's a good question. A general rule of thumb is to set expectations. I say, how long have you had that symptom, right? If someone has had a headache for 5 minutes and they don't get recurring headaches, they're more likely to see a result right away when you start playing a headache or a migraine list. But if they have headaches every time at a certain time of the month and they've had it for 40 years, it's going to be a longer time, right? So I kind of set expectations that way. It's like, how long has this been going on? You can't expect to run one scan and deal with it. And then also talking about the formula. Like first we have to calm the central nervous system down, and that may take a while. And then we can get to the other causes. Can you imprint Cephi with AO tunes and it lasts 72 hours? Are you talking about like imprinting water and everything? Yeah, it usually lasts until something happens. And I know that sounds like a wishy-washy answer, but an example of that is if I had a glass of water and I just imprinted it with a bunch of stuff, and then I sat it right next to the router, it may not last 72 hours, right? But if it's charged water, it's spring water, really good quality water, then most definitely it's going to last 72 hours. Tinnitus is a tricky one. That's I can't really just answer like that. There's so many different areas and it's difficult. But look in homeopathy by symptoms. There's some good homeopathic remedies there. If you have the wand, use the wand on the whole neuro reset protocol. I do functional neurology, so I usually do that as well, but it has to be pretty targeted. If it's just tinnitus that just came on yesterday, it will be quick to resolve. But if you've had it for years, I just talked to someone this morning, she's had it for 5 years. So obviously that would take longer. I like to record IV tones, then my affirmations with the tones and the music background, and then play them both all night long. Nice. Repetition versus importance of binaural beats. Your thought. So if you're talking about mind sync affirmations, those are binaural beats. So you're getting the best of both worlds there. Do you use homeoenergetics going to Cephi and choose that one category? Choose pulls up the different areas in the body and it chooses what to imprint for you. Oh, sometimes I do. I don't know. She's talking about when you go through the training, you can click on homeoenergetics and you can scan it and it will give you some things and some more things. I don't want to go into that now because then that's going to lead to all sorts of questions like what do the numbers mean and when do you use it? You really have to go to the training. But yeah, sometimes I do use that. You're welcome, Tammy. Thank you. Yeah, if anyone has a good book on New German medicine, please put it down in the chat for everybody. What do I mean by custom? Oh, IV script is inner voice. So typically you just say, I am Nadia Lutz, and sometimes people say ABCD after you talk about the weather, whatever. If you instead you say an affirmation or something that you want, I find it's pretty effective. You're welcome, Bertie. If you since you registered, you should be able to have access to it. I do the body systems every day. I like the body systems because it releases the emotions also. Briefly explain the cancer and the extended database again. Those are very scary to read when your nervous system is already challenged. Yes. So like I said, and this is good for anyone. If anyone has a overreactive nervous system, and don't look at your reports. Like straight up, don't look at your reports. If it causes you anxiety, don't go into the reports. Just scan and optimize. Right? I've had several people. It's taken me a month to get through to them. This is supposed to be helping you. This is supposed to be helping your body heal. If it's looking at these reports is causing you anxiety, you're not allowed to look at the reports anymore. I say that point blank. Do not look at the reports. And then they ignore me and then they write back, but this came up, but don't look at the reports, right? We're trying to calm the central nervous system down. So her main question was, how do you explain the cancer? We all have the cancer gene. We all have cancer in our body. We all have lumps and bumps in our body. And, over the age of whatever, 10, 15, 20, it's just a matter of whether your immune system can handle these inflammations, right? It's the same thing with the threat buckets. So that's how I explain it. And I don't show that extended database to everyone because they freak out. I just call them, I don't even like to use the C word because then it validates it, right? I just call them lumps and bumps. But yeah, if someone is scared about that, then please don't show them, don't send them those reports. Working with a family member that has dad with locked-in syndrome. He can only move his eyes, so he can't do inner voice. Can we still do the hub without inner voice? So he can definitely still do inner voice. You don't need to have a voice. You could record him breathing. You can record him swallowing food or eating or even grunting. Oh yeah, here, Tony is saying the same thing. So back when people were on the ventilation machines, the vents in the hospital during COVID, we were just recording the breath sounds on that, and it was very effective. So, and the same with animals, right? They don't talk. You can get them barking, you can get them sleeping, snoring, breathing, eating, the same thing. Cepheid dots. I can't remember what the original, oh, you're talking about the imprinting. Yeah, it's the same thing with Cepheid dots, right? If you have a bunch of Cepheid dots and you go through the airport scanner, it's going to be wiped. But if you're storing it correctly, it will last for 72 hours. And hubs shall be used. I don't know how to muscle test. It can be used. Again, keep the lights. If you don't know how to muscle test, you can still do the thing. So keep everything very low. Like put the lights low, put the sounds low, low and slow, and use other things to see how he's doing. You're probably in tune with his emotions, right? So maybe you just do the autism and then one of the emotions that's a repetitive loop. And so just select 2, not 3, and just keep everything really low and see how he does. You're welcome. Who do you recommend for the best candidate for RTMS? How does that differ from the hub and the lasers? I really like RTMS. I look at it like a little bit more like neurofeedback for me, because I also am a neurofeedback practitioner. It sets on the various points around the body, and then it has a lot of different settings that you can put on it. The hub is so when you put this on, a lot of people don't feel anything. The first few times I did it, I didn't feel anything, and now I am starting to feel things. The hub uses flashing lights, uses the customized binaural beats, and you can also put in a frequency number. I like to use 40 or 42 for the brain. And then the lasers it's a light technology. But when you hook it up to the hub, let's just say that, let's say I had acute pain in my ear. If I took a laser and I had an acute pain list playing at the same tab with the hub, and I went like this, it would use the laser and the playlist of the acute pain through the laser. So it's pretty powerful. They're all different. You love using homeoenergetics. Yeah, I do too. Thanks, Nancy. I do too. Write a message if you have a good book on hand. I still have to look mine up. It's over on my bookshelves. Glad you like the IV script. Yes, reports are love, hate. Again, if it causes anxiety, don't do it. Don't look. Make yourself resist. I hardly ever go in and look at my my reports unless I wake up with some weird symptom. Then sometimes I might go in, but just scan and optimize. You're getting the benefits. What would I recommend for second purchase? Wand or mat? It's a tough one. I love them both, but honestly, the mat is passive, and I mean, I sit on it all day while I'm working if I'm, not at my desk. So, but I do love my wand. So I would say maybe mat. You can imprint Cepheid dots with AO Tune. 100% sure. Yes. Catherine Willow. Oh, yeah, her book is good. The new German medicine book by Catherine Willow. I can't remember the name of it. If you're making jewelry that you have used and are no longer sticky and then re-imprint them. Yeah, it should definitely still work. I've never heard Lauren say not to run the body system very often. The full comprehensive, you wouldn't want to run daily. If you did a complete comprehensive, he said every 3 weeks you can run one. But if you do a selective one, like you deselect all like I did and you select certain ones, you can do that every day. But I hadn't heard about body systems not running it every day. Yeah, Lee's saying the same thing. Matt for Lee and Matt. So when I'm sitting on the mat all day, it only runs, the Hertz only runs for the first 15 minutes. So I'm getting the crystals and the infrared heat on that, unless I turn it off and turn it back on.
Yes, you can. I'll show you.
All right. Thank you everyone for coming, participating.
Thanks so much, Nadia.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Nadia.
You're welcome.
Thanks
Have a-
for the
Thank
very
you. Very helpful.
information.
Very
You're
helpful.
welcome.
Thank you.
Glad you liked
Thank
it.
you, Nadia.
That was awesome.
Thank
Right.
you.
Yes,
Thank
totally
you.
awesome.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Right.
Bye.
Where's my leaf? There it is.